Science Hill in week 3, and at that point, of course, they had their own playoff hopes in their hands. They've blown 3 leads. They've led in 6 of the last 7 games, and yet they are sitting here looking at the Science Hill Hilltoppers in the playoffs, them missing it for the first time in 25 years. Who would have thought that long ago?
I know a lot of people at home are blaming the new coach and saying it's growing pains, but the coach has been there. He has experience. He knows the program. I'm not sure what the issue's been this year. I think they'll fix the problems next season. Let's just relish beating Science Hill.
Exactly. That was definitely the highlight of the season for them. Talk about the stat of the night. Stat of the day, if you will. Greenville's Cade Ballard has 18 incomplete passes this season and 29 touchdowns after last week's 11 of 12 performance and 4 touchdowns in the 63-0 loss or victory over Granger. He has more touchdown passes than incompletions on this season.
That is impressive.
That means they are a juggernaut. And again, like I said, they are rolling.
Joe, I did want to throw one thing out. Were you aware that the Johnson County Unicoi game was designated the Titans game of the week?
I did not.
The winning team gets $1,000 from the Tennessee Titans.
Wow.
That could be some incentive for athletic directors.
There you go. Hopefully, like I said, it's going to be a great game. I think that could be the game of the. Again, there's a lot of mismatches in Northeast Tennessee this week. So, all right. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and also want to give a quick shout out to our lady volleyball teams. Again, the JV playing Abington tonight down at Union High School for the JV championship of the Mountain 7, and then our Lady Blue Devils, which will be taking on John Battle. The winner of that one is the number 2 seed in next week's Region 2D tournament. So, again, I want to give a shout-out to the ladies for that's playing pretty much probably right now. So, anyway, you're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Whether you're headed out to the game or if you're just looking for something great to eat, stop by and see the outstanding folks at the Campus Drive-In on Kane Street in Gate City. Campus Drive-In supporting Gate City Athletics for over 60 years, and they have a tremendous selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items, and they're open 7 days a week. Also go in and ask about their new ice cream machine as well. So give them a call for call-in orders at 276-386-3702. Again, that's 276-386-3702.
This is John Sally of the Gate City football and basketball teams, and you're listening to the home of the Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
And we're back here during the pregame show, Gate City, Y Central, getting things. We're about 23 minutes away from game time here at Y Central High School. So we'll delve into a little bit of Southwest Virginia football again. We were just talking about before the break the JV championship. Unfortunately, Gate City came up a little bit short in the JV championship game. It was back and forth. Abington took the first set, and then Gate City came back to win the second set. However, the third and deciding game, Abington took that one. So our Lady Blue Devils come in second, which is there's nothing to cry about that. Again, that's a great volleyball team, that we've got at Gate City. And again, hats off to a great season for the girls. So,
there's a lot of other schools that wishes they were sitting in second place.
Exactly. And again, that's an honor. And of course, that just builds. Coach Amy Reed has built a dynamic program at Gate City with what they do. And again, they've got 6 state championships to prove it. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about Southwest Virginia. We'll get into some of these predictions. We'll talk about which games are tonight, tomorrow night. We'll also talk about our Premier Pharmacy Players of the Week here in just a minute. Let's talk about the Cumberland District. Again, a game that's not been moved, a game that will be played tomorrow night just down the road from us here. Rock Cove at J.I. Burton. Again, winners of 6 straight. J.I. Burton has found their groove. Quarterback Houston Thacker threw for 5 touchdowns last week as the Raiders rolled over Castlewood. And again, he's was one of the WCYB Player of the Week last week. Rock Cove, though, comes into this ball game 3-5. Again, this would be their best showing since 2011, where they were 7-4 and actually made it to the playoffs. Tonight they sit in the number 9 seed at 3-5. Now, I don't think they're going to get the win tonight, but they've got a game next week against rival Twin Springs, and a win there puts them at 4-6. Some things break right, and Rye Cove could actually be in the playoffs. Of course, they'd be looking at teams like J.I. Burton, and I think J.I. Burton rolls tomorrow night, 38-14.
I think right now Burton is probably the better team, but I really like the direction Rocco's going. I'm hoping, thinking, maybe they've turned the corner with their program. Maybe they'll bring it back to where it needs to be.
Again, a 20-man roster took the field last week against Twin Valley for Rocco. A game that is being played in Scott County tonight, Thomas Walker at Twin Springs. Twin Springs became the last team, in Southwest Virginia to get a win, and that was last week against North Green. Thomas Walker, though, is looking for their 7th win of the season. It'd be the first time they've done that since 1996. Dawson Lee, remember the name. Good running back a few years ago. As a freshman, he rushed for 350 yards in a game. I think Thomas Walker will roll tonight. I don't think, again, Twin Springs may be headed in the right direction, but I think the Pioneers get it tonight. 40-13, they win in Nicholsville.
I think you're probably right. Not much else to say about it.
And that's all I have to say about that. Auburn at Royal Retreat, a game out of the Mountain Empire District with some playoff implications, will be played tomorrow night. Again, Auburn knocked off Royal Retreat last year in a ball game that went back and forth for about a quarter, and then, like I said, Auburn turned it on after that point. But again, the Indians, Dorian Delp, I think he is going to be probably the factor tonight. Auburn and Royal Retreat. Royal Retreat is improved, but I think Auburn wins 30-22. Another ball game being played tomorrow night, Grayson County at George Wythe. Again, this game's got serious implications in a 2D. Again, Grayson County, which moved up, they are tied with Union as the number 2 seed in the playoffs if they begin tonight. Grayson County knocked off George Wythe last year in their ball game. This game, I think, will be very close. Ravon Wells is a playmaker for George Wythe. He's got almost 800 yards rushing. Quarterback Cole Simmons, he's done a good job for George Wythe. However, Grayson County, though, comes into this ball game winners of the last 4. I think they edge George Wythe on the road in a small upset. Grayson County knocks off George Wythe 24-23.
You really think so? George Wythe, I believe they've got some ball left to play.
Okay.
I think I'll take that.
They got 40 minutes for sure. Again, George Wythe, of course, we saw them against Gate City in the preseason in a pretty good scrimmage between them and the Blue Devils. Ball game in the Mountain 7, of course, Lehigh at John Battle. That ball game going to kick off here in about 18 minutes as well. Last year, John Battle knocked off Lehigh down in Ben-Hur. John Battle generated 24 first downs and 250 yards in that ball game. Zane Poe contributed several big plays for John Battle last week in that 26-21 win over our Blue Devils. Quarterback Micah Witt and running back Dylan Cunningham are formidable for John Battle. I think this ball game, I don't think it's close because as we mentioned in the before we even got on the air, which teams are ready for basketball season, which teams are mentally into it, which teams still have something to play for. Lehigh now on the outside looking in. John Battle can secure a spot with a win tonight. I think John Battle takes care of business 38-21.
Lehigh is kind of Southwest Virginia's Sullivan North this year.
Ooh.
They started off like world beaters.
Ooh.
I was on the bandwagon, and of course I don't have to tell you that's our one win so far this year.
Yeah.
Should have beat John Battle also. I had a hard time picking this game, but I did go with Battle also. I think they're the better team. Both teams, though, should have lost to the Blue Devils.
Yeah, exactly. And then talking about another team that should have lost to the Blue Devils, Virginia High at Marion. Marion, of course, like I said, they are on the borderline. They're that number 8 seed right now if the playoffs were to begin. Virginia High comes in the Bearcats. They knocked off Marion last season behind 2 touchdown passes from Lane Carroll. Of course, senior Nick Reese has been a pretty good football player for Marion. He's contributed a lot of their offense. He had 147 yards last week against Tazewell. And a game I think goes back and forth. Virginia High, I think, has just too much speed. I think this contest will determine if Marion gets in the playoffs. I don't think so. Marion, I think, goes down 30-22.
Marion's one of those teams, I've said it for weeks, that they just did not impress me when we played them. We should have beat them. But yet, to their credit, they keep finding ways to win.
So what I need to do is get the sound blurb from Shania Twain's That Don't Impress Me Much for whenever you give a pick.
Well, the way things, I've been saving myself.
There you go.
But I do agree with you, though. I think Virginia High comes in and takes care of business.
On the road at Marion High School. In Lebanon at Richlands, a game that will be played tomorrow night still. Being played, of course, on the artificial turf at Richlands. Again, Richlands blew out Lebanon last year. It was 45-0 at halftime. I don't think this one will be even, probably about that close. 6'3" junior quarterback Casey White, though, coming off of a 218-yard passing effort last week. Cole Stutes, 10 receptions. Richlands, I think, just has too much. Richlands wins 42-0.
I think just like Greenville, just like Elizabeth and Richlands, if they're smart, they're going to rest their starters, and I think they will. They'll do enough to win tonight.
In a ball game, I think that the weather could play a factor. Two of the better running backs in Southwest Virginia is in this next game. Tazewell at Grundy. Again, Tazewell has to have this game if they have any hopes to stay in the playoff race. Grundy firmly in on the 1A division. Tazewell's dropped 3 straight games. Grundy's come in dropping 2 straight. Grundy's Gabe Pfizer and Tazewell's Chancellor Harris. Again, 2 of the best backs. But again, the rain in Grundy, it's cold rain, what it says about Buchanan County.
The rain in Grundy. There's got to be a poem or a song in there somewhere.
And we will probably write that here at some point tonight. But anyway, Grundy, I think, takes care of Tazewell in a mild upset. That the home team, I just give it to them. 31-30 is the final.
So I think Grundy will have easier time than with Tazewell. I would pick them by at least a touchdown.
And I think you did in the pick'em battle.
I believe I did.
Which we'll talk about here in just a little bit.
Let's not.
Honaker, Northwood again. Honaker comes in as a heavy favorite. Northwood has dropped 7 straight games since winning against Twin Springs to open up the season. Honaker's Trevor Dye needs just 24 yards to hit 1,000 yards rushing for the season. Levi Miller, he only needs 199 for 1,000 passing yards. Both of them get it tonight. Honaker 48, Northwood 8.
I think you're probably right. This won't be much of a game.
And a game that I think that will have probably more offense than any play tonight. Again, this ball game being played over Damascus. Eastside is at Holston. Holston just needs one more victory to secure its first winning season since 2013. Jordan Rasnick, though, for Eastside, one of the better quarterbacks in the region, over 1,600 yards passing. He's got 22 touchdowns on the season. I think in a back-and-forth ball game, I think Eastside has just enough. Again, they are on the outside looking in on the playoffs. Holston right now in the playoffs, all kinds of implications. I think Eastside will get it done 38-27.
This is one I really had a hard time with. To me, both teams are almost identical. I think this one could come down to a field goal. Either way.
I hope they don't kick towards the far end, because for all those been at Holston, that is a cliff that's behind the end zone. And if you kick the ball, you've lost the ball. So,
but if you do it as time expires, that'd be a very dramatic win.
And yes, of course, your athletic director will charge you probably the price of the ball.
It might be worth it.
Hopefully, if they get in the playoffs. Fort Chiswell's at Graham. Again, a ball game being played tomorrow night at 7. Fort Chiswell, a good story. They're 4-4 this year. They've sort of bounced back from last season. But again, this Graham group, they're the 4 seed right now. Cam Allen, he's got a strong case for Player of the Year honors. I think they roll 35-7. And in what will probably be the game of the night, though, Patrick Henry, the undefeated Rebels, travel to the undefeated Chilhowie. Again, the Hoagie Higgie Showdown features the only 2 unbeaten teams still yet in Southwest Virginia. Chilhowie comes in averaging 46 points a game. They give up just about 5. Of course, Patrick Henry comes in as well, averaging close to 40 points per game. They give up just under 10 points on themselves. Patrick Henry, Jr. Zach Brown, I think is going to be a name you need to watch tonight. I think Chilhowie and Patrick Henry go back and forth, but I think Chilhowie's just got enough to knock off the undefeated Rebels 40-28.
If I wasn't going to be sitting in Wise tonight with you, Joe, I'd like to be at that game. I think it's going to be a barn burner, and that could be another one that comes down to a field goal.
That could be, very well. Again, Chilhowie plays host to Patrick Henry tonight. A game that's going to be featured tomorrow night on WCYB, or the CW, excuse me. Abington is at Union. Again, last season, Union took care of Abington 35-7. I think this game, like you said, has all the makings to be a great shootout. Again, the line outside Bullitt Park's probably already started, to be honest with you.
They're pitching tents, I believe.
I would say so. Since falling to 24-14 to Ridgeview a few weeks back, Union has scored at least 28 points in 4 straight games. Abington is good. Union is better at home. I'll give Union the win, 29-23.
If I'm not mistaken, I commented on our picks with this that I was going with Union because it was at home.
Yeah.
If it was at Abington, I think I'd go with Abington.
And you talk about, I think you made a good point last week talking about the Abington passing game. They throw it around a lot.